Welcome to the Point Loma Church podcast. I'm Sarah Butterfield, Director of Children and Family Ministry.
And I am Ryan Silvia, Director of Youth and Young Adult Ministries.
And we are here for our last installment of the Lenten series podcast, where we are exploring developmentally appropriate spiritual practices centered around the 6 Christian traditions. And so today, what are we talking about today?
Charismatic.
Which is really giftedness. That's the word I'm going to use because I think that just makes more sense about what it is. And so giftedness is really welcoming the Holy Spirit while nurturing and exercising our spiritual gifts.
That sounds scary. Is there a stranger that's going to come into my house?
Right. Well, really what it is, the Bible mentions several types of spiritual gifts. And so it mentions administration, discernment, encouragement, faith, giving, service, leadership, mercy, prophecy, and teaching. And a lot of these gifts they're very broad.
Yeah.
And they can really encompass a lot of things and apply to a lot of things.
Yeah. And you may be a little scared or not sure where to start when it comes to all of these different topics. And a great place that we would like to encourage you to start is just look at the things that you do well, right? What are things that you do that other people don't do? Or maybe what is something that you do that brings joy to other people's lives? And start with that. A great example for our teens is, are you a really good athlete, right? There are a lot of amazing athletes in our congregation, but are you the kind of athlete that uses your skill to lift up your team, to encourage everybody to do better, to seek new heights and to become better as a team? Or do you cut down your teammates so that you can make yourself look better? Are you the kind of person that pushes others down so that you can feel superior, right? That's a great way where we cannot use our gifts in a very, very bad way versus using our gifts to lift each other up in a way of giving and a way of service and a way of leadership, right? These are all different ways that you can be an athlete using your spiritual gifts.
That's right. And so if you have a young kiddo who is really artistic, who's really into arts and crafts, you might not see, that might not be totally evident about what their giftedness is. But, if you have a young artist who likes to make crafts, that could be, that child could have the gift of encouragement. Or could have the gift of giving. How often do kids like to bring and bless others with their little creations? Yes. And so, I think a lot of times we grow into our giftedness, and a lot of times it can be really evident very early on what our giftedness is. And so I think parents are pretty good at spotting those things in their kids. And so we really just want to explore how we can encourage our kids to use their gifts for the building up of the church.
Yeah. And kind of going alongside our message from last week, I think, or we don't want to overwhelm our parents and make them think, oh, this is another lesson, another, giant task that I have to teach my kids. Our hope and our prayer through all of this is stuff that we realize we're already kind of doing on a regular basis. These are things that we just maybe want to turn the dial up a little bit on, right? Maybe encourage the compliments that we give a little more regularly or things like that. These don't have to be these massive lifestyle changing activities. They can be just little things you already do, but that you want to do more joyfully and more graciously to those around you.
Right. And I think there's 2 things that I have realized as I've gotten older and older. One is that I think we can, sometimes we silo ourselves into like, okay, I'm a great teacher, so I'm going to stay in my lane. Yeah. So sometimes we kind of we know what our gift is and that's what we're going to stick to. And sometimes I think we don't realize that we can actually grow and step outside of our comfort zone in some of these other gifts. Like I know administration, for one, is one that I've had to grow into. And one I've had to learn how to be more organized and how to plan well. That didn't always come naturally to me.
It's funny that the youth and children's leaders are the fun, chaotic, going all over the place people, because I'm the same way.
Right. Right. And so I think it's really important too that we don't deny opportunities that are right in front of us because we don't have that specific gifting.
Yeah.
Ryan, I'm just remembering a story of when I was the youth ministry assistant. Okay. And 2 moms came to me and said, our girls not getting along and we need somebody to mediate. Would you mediate? And I wanted to say no so badly because I hate conflict and I'm not good at that stuff. And that's not my gifting. You know, my husband's a psychologist, not me. But I said yes and I was terrified. And it was absolutely a growth opportunity for me. And I learned a lot and the girls learned a lot and they eventually like became friends again. And so it was a good experience. But, you know, we can be tempted to be like, not my gift, not going to do it because it's not my gift.
Totally, yeah. And I think that's really wonderful to make sure that we're leaning into even the areas where we don't feel strong, we're leaning into those opportunities. I think it's also really important to surround ourselves though with people that can help fill in those gaps as well and learn from them. You know, this is not, we're bringing in somebody that we can lean on and use as a crutch. And so I never have to do that spiritual gift again. It's let's partner with them. And can you teach me how you bring joy? I'm a very quiet, subdued person when I'm alone and by myself. And so finding ways to, celebrate, be joyful, be more encouraged are always opportunities that we can learn and get encouraged from.
Yeah. And I think that's really important to note that like the church is a body and we need all of the members. And so you and your kids have something unique to offer to the body of Christ. And so our job as parents is to kind of shepherd that and nurture that and help them see the ways in which they are gifted.
Yeah, I love that.
So how can we do this? What are some practical ways we can do this? See, do you have any ideas?
To have conversations with family or
with your kids to encourage them to step into use their talents for building up the church.
I think, and this question has been asked to me shown to me recently as a wonderful way to engage students. So this is my little secret. But if one of the questions that kids get asked is, how was school? What did you do today at school? And as a mom, I imagine you get the answer of, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was stuff. School, right? What if you ask the question of who got in trouble today, right? And it's a silly little question that gets you started on thinking, what is a silly thing that somebody else got involved in? It's a less personal question, but then it can get that conversation rolling, right? On how we can further go into and share and be a better way to uplift people, right? Mm-hmm. How would you handle that situation differently? What would you have done if you were in their shoes, right? It's a way to start that conversation, get them thinking about their own actions and how they can be a better light to the world around them.
Yeah. Or who seemed to need help today?
That's another great question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
And it takes the focus off of them a little bit, but then you can bring it back around, could you have offered anything? Do you have anything to offer in that situation?
I love that.
Yeah. One thing that I think is helpful is to speak kind of like words of affirmation over our kids. And so if your kid, this is maybe a little bit cheesy for the teenager crowd, but if you have young kids, to just stand them in front of a mirror and to say something that you love about what they can do. So, to name what they see that their child is good at. So stand your kid in front of the mirror and say, I see that you are always so quick to share, or I see that you always have a kind word or a hug for a friend that's hurting. Yeah. And I love that about you. So to just really affirm our kids and to be explicit, about what we're seeing in them.
Yeah. I know I talk about journals a lot, so we will avoid the journal and find a new way to express our creativity. This is very 90s kid of me, but one of the things that I think we've gotten away from is just like the physical media of being creativity. So I don't know if you ever made a vision board when you were growing up, but I used to love making vision boards.
Yes.
And it's just a way to not only look at the future and the things that you're excited for, but also to celebrate the things that you are good at and wonderful at right now, right? So I maybe want to be Taylor Swift in 100 years, 50 years, right? Maybe I can make it in 50 years, but it's acknowledging that I'm a talented singer. I have this gift that I want to use to brighten the world, to make it a better place, right? So spending some time with a vision board and celebrating the things you're good at, or of course, getting out that journal and just writing some affirmations and encouraging yourself of all the wonderful and amazing things that you do. And it gets you in that mindset so that when you go out, you're out in the world, you're able to, encourage people, you're able to have more mercy, you're able to have more joy, right? Because it starts with centering yourself and being so excited in who you are. It makes it so much easier to be excited about other people.
Yeah, I love that. And another way, so to spin off that, for the younger kids, help them draw themselves as a superhero.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and then label, label what's on their cape, have them label what's on their cape, what is is your superpower? And for a little kid, it could be like, well, I'm really great at hula hoops, or I'm really, really great at like hopscotch or whatever. But you can encourage that. You can say, oh, you are an encourager, or you are a great listener. And so you can help kids make kind of just their superhero self-portraits to remind themselves that they have a gift to offer.
And I love all these activities too. It's a lot of asking the students or asking these kids to think themselves about what they see in themselves. I think a lot of negative tendencies we can get as parents is we put our own expectations or our own views on our kids, and that can be kind of heavy. So maybe giving them the opportunity to say, hey, what do you see? What are you excited about in yourself? Can give them, one, not only some ownership of it, but their own agency to say, no, this is who I am.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. And if you want to make that a more of a like a formal thing that you're doing all together where even parents participate, I would suggest doing a spiritual gift show and tell around the dinner table. So where even mom and dad bring one object to the table and tell how that object represents your giftedness or what you're good at. So like, a piggy bank for giving, or a dish towel for serving, or a plate for hospitality, or a picture you drew for encouragement, whatever it might be. And then take a minute and explain how you want to use that gift to serve the church, to fill up the church. So,
and I love all of this. One of the best examples that we can give our kids is leading by that example, right? We can't expect our kids to give in their spiritual gifts if we aren't doing the same. And so a spiritual show and tell is a perfect way to lead by example. Now, parents, we don't want to make this a like show off. Oh, okay, there's a specific thing I have to do so that I have something to share for show and tell. It's what are the things that you regularly do in your life, right?
Right.
Do your kids catch you ever reading your Bible? Do your kids catch you ever praying for somebody else when something bad happens? Do you react with compassion or do you react with aggression? The best way that we can show our kids, how to be gracious, how to be kind, how to be merciful is showing that ourselves.
Right. I remember when my kids were very little and we would have mops or a momco mom that had just had a baby. I would bring over my signature 3-bean chili. And I would have the kids hold the bread or the chips and the dessert, and we'd go and we'd drop it off together. And I'd be very explicit, like, we are doing this because it's hard when you have a new baby and you don't have time to make dinner. And we're doing this because it's a loving thing to do. And Jesus loved us. And so this is how we are going to love other people. So it's always great to be really explicit when you're modeling that giving and service, to just talk about it.
Yeah. Well, and on that same token, being gracious is part of this lesson as well. And so when there are times when you're not living up to your best standards or when you make a mistake, right, showing our kids that we know how to apologize, we know how to ask for forgiveness, we know how to accept grace and mercy, right, is just as important, because they won't know how to give it if they don't also know how to receive it as well. And I think that's really, really important when it comes to sharing our spiritual gifts and loving on those around us, is being an example of somebody who gives but also receives mercy as well.
Yeah. And I think another idea that I had for the older elementary crowd is to do a strengthen your gift challenge where you've maybe talked about what your kid's gift is, and you know what it is and they know what it is. And so assign them a small challenge for the week. So if your kid's gift seems to be encouragement, or that's what they lean towards, challenge them to write 3 kind notes. Right? Or if it's service, challenge them to find one new way to help a friend or family member. Or if it's faith, challenge them to pray for a big request. Or if it's wisdom, if they love learning, challenge them to read a short Bible passage and explain it to a younger sibling. This can be a great activity to do to practice our giftedness.
Yeah. I think I just love being able to practice them together, right? Whatever you can do as a family to show that this is not something that's weird. It's not something that's awkward. It's just a fun way that we live out our lives in a way that brings joy, that brings light, that brings love to all those around us.
That's right. So any other ideas?
I think we kind of hit them all on that.
I think we did. Hopefully you have found something here that speaks to you. Don't try to do it all. Like I always say, don't try to do it all. Pick 1 or 2 things that you think are going to work well for your family.
And make sure you put in the comments the things that work well. We really want to participate and get involved in the wonderful things in your lives. So let us know in that comment section what worked for you and maybe some things you're excited to try.
And now that we've wrapped up this series, we hope that you'll join us for our upcoming activities during Holy Week, starting with Palm Sunday, April 13th. We have one service at 9 o'clock and then a very fun community event called Easter Fest from 10 to noon. It's a great thing to bring your family to and invite your neighbors and friends to. And then our Easter services will be at 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, and we really hope to see you then.
And as always, if you're on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Have a wonderful week.